Like I said, the Hosui, Kosui, and Olympic all look very similar. We have the Kosui, Hosui, Olympic giant, Shinseiki, and the European pear. Hello, beautiful subscribers. It's the last week of August here, southeastern Pennsylvania, zone 7A. And today we have a short but fun video all about the most productive fruit tree, the Asian pear. These 4 Asian pears have only been in the ground for 3 years, and they have been extremely productive for how young they are. Way more productive than an apple or a European pear. Okay, here is a European pear that you guys are most likely familiar with. This is the type of pear you'll see in the grocery store. And here is an Asian pear, shaped more like an apple, has a texture more like an apple. The European pear is going to be smoother, softer, buttery taste. The Asian pear is going to be juicier, not as sweet, depends on the variety, but much different, as you can see. So the European pear, it ripens from the inside out, which is very unusual for a piece of fruit. This has been sitting in my house for 2 weeks. I picked it off my Bartlett pear about 2 weeks ago. The Asian pear, which I just picked off this Hosui Asian pear, can be eaten right off the tree like an apple. So let's see the difference here. Good. What you would expect. Flavorful, mild. Softer, more juice, more liquid, not as rich or of intense flavor. This is more flavor to me, but this is much better texture. I have 4 different types. We have the Olympic giant, and we have the Hosui, the Kosui, and the Shinseiki. And each tree has its pros and cons. The Shinseiki is by far the best tasting out of the 4, and it looks different. It has much more intense flavor. The other 3 look very similar, have very similar texture, very similar flavor, but the Shinseiki blows them all away. Yeah, way more flavor than the other 3. I'll show you a comparison in a second of all 4 of the fruit next to each other, so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. But that is a crazy good piece of fruit, and this is one of the 4 that I would recommend. The Shinseiki. Kosui is the smallest, Hosui is next, and then the Olympic. So because of this, similar flavor, same texture, I would recommend the one in the middle. The Kosui is a little too small. The Olympic giant can get huge, so I would recommend the Hosui. Out of these 4 trees, the Olympic giant wants to grow crazy tall, shooting straight up in the air. And then the Hosui, both these trees are going to be giant. You're going to constantly be pruning them down. They want to get very tall. The Shinseiki has more of a normal growth rate, in my opinion. And then the Kosui is much more dwarf. So if you have a small backyard, not going to be doing a lot of pruning, then this is definitely a pro for the Kosui. It's much smaller, more spreading, not reaching for the sky. Another pro for the Kosui is it is the most productive. It's holding the most fruit on every branch. Yes, the fruit's a little bit smaller than the rest, but what it lacks in size, it makes up in productivity. This tree is covered with fruit, and I already thinned it vigorously this year. The next most productive is definitely the Hosui. Still has a crazy amount of fruit on it, and I already did lots of thinning. And then it's the Shinseiki next. Has a little less fruit, not as productive. And then the Olympic is last. It's the least productive of the four. That being said, the fruit is 2 to 3 times larger. Okay, here is the Kosui and the Hosui. The Kosui is supposed to be sweeter. Now, like I said, they look very similar. So let's see. The internet claims it's gonna be sweeter than the Hosui. Yeah, it's got some good flavor. And the Hosui is more mild. So I would agree. Kosui is definitely a sweeter piece of fruit. Like I said, these are very similar in texture and taste. The Shinseiki blows them all away, so I highly recommend this tree. And then maybe either one of these. Since you need 2 for pollination, you need cross-pollination with an Asian pear. Even though it says some of them are partially self-fertile, don't believe it. So get yourself the Shinseiki and either the Hosui or the Kosui. Since we already chose the Shinseiki, taking Olympic Giant out of the running, that leaves you Hosui and Kosui. And the thing is, the Kosui did much worse, which is the one we're looking at now, when it came to disease and insect resistant this summer. The tree got very beat up. It got spider mite and aphids and some different fungal problems. And the Hosui seemed to do much better throughout the summer months. I mean, the Olympic Giant is still a beautiful tree, but it's just less productive and it wants to grow so tall. So I don't know how much I want to deal with this. And the fruit is huge. It's not exactly a bad thing, but I wouldn't pick this tree because of its growth habit and its unproductibility. All right, to sum up today's video, I highly recommend you grow some Asian pears. I'm gonna recommend the Shinseiki and the Hosui. These are very productive trees, easier than apples, easier than European pears. They will produce a lot of fruit for you at a young age. So, like always, thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.